Welcome back to the Movie Dungeon. I am your host, Dwayne, the flyest nerd you know, and today we're talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day. So, it's been out for a while. Everybody kind of already has a breakdown, their spoiler reviews already, but I kind of just want to just say, my good and bads of the film. I just saw it not too long ago, so it's still kind of relatively fresh in my mind. Some of the goods, though. One, I do love the loneliness of Spider-Man, Peter Parker. That's kind of what a lot of us fans and comic book nerds wanted, right? We wanted that, like, depression and no friends and no social life Peter Parker. Spider-Man comes first. If you try to put Peter Parker and what he wants first, a lot of people's lives become in jeopardy. So we do get that a whole lot, and that's, I would say that was the kickoff and the tone they definitely wanted to show us in it. We definitely got that in the first couple minutes. The first maybe 10, 15 minutes, we definitely grasped that, right? They did a fantastic job with that. I can't ask for nothing more. The swinging, you start off with some good swinging. Kind of remind me of Amazing Spider-Man 2. I had a lot of good swinging in the opening act. This one, I don't know if I would say it's better than that one, but it definitely comes pretty close. I did enjoy it. There was a lot of moments where it felt like it was the video game of, the Spider-Man PlayStation 4 or 5 now, whichever one you want to play. I played 5. But anyway, jiggers, it felt like that. And I really did enjoy it. I really did feel like I was immersed. They had a lot of different camera angles with that. Obviously you get the one in the trailer with it's in his mask. But we get a cool little POV from like his wrist up. It was amazing, right? Thank God. I like the fights between the Hulk and Punisher and Spider-Man. I didn't think it was gonna be all that great. I thought it was just gonna be, especially from Punisher, like, cause it's the Hulk. You know what I mean? But he definitely did a Punisher moves. He did this little slide in, shoot up, which is also in the trailer. That shit was great. I love that shit a lot. And they definitely handled PG-13 Punisher well. Right? I'm thinking like, damn, they're gonna make this boy so corny, so marvelous, like Marvel is, or Disney-fied. They're really gonna fucking Disney-fy him. And really, I like the way you still feel his groan, his tones, his attitude is all still there. You pretty much just take out a few cuss words and here you are. You know what I mean? So I definitely enjoy that. He wasn't as violent though, but he was definitely to let all his shooting out on the Hulk because, you can't go through that scam, boy. Speaking of the Hulk, I did love the motion capture that Mark Ruffalo did have for the Hulk. His face, it looks a lot better compared to the other MCU version Hulks that we got, in my opinion. It definitely looked more like Mark Ruffalo, and I definitely did enjoy that. Because I'm nitpicky when it comes down to CGI ish, especially when it comes on to Marvel. They have known to have the best, and then they're known to have god awful shit. So I'm just glad that worked out. The humor was handled very well in here. I would definitely say a lot of the humor points for me really came from Punisher and Spider-Man. But you do get your, Ned and stuff like that. There's still moments like that. But definitely Punisher and Spider-Man take the cake for that. They just argue like an old married couple. They're always just arguing about which one is right, which one is wrong. And it's not like the violent Daredevil and Punisher way, which one is right, which one's wrong. It was hilarious, bro. For that part. I really do like that we do see Peter and MJ and they stick with the spell throughout the whole thing. I really was scared that they might have went back on it in some way, but they stuck to their guns. And it worked, because I think her not remembering Perfect. Perfect. It was actually a heart crushing moment at one point when she's like says, "I don't love you." That shit. I felt that. You know what I mean? In the movie theater, I said, oh, I looked around. I was like, does anybody else feel this? Like this is painful to me. Like, well. Yeah. So that was handled very, 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 very well. I do want to see what happens more with Spider-Man in this organic web and him kind of like, keeping it in check. How much longer he gonna do that for real? You know. Um, but I feel like he's kind of not, now that I think about it, because he's kind of trying to embrace it. But doesn't that mean he's going to, so it means he has full control over his arachnid. They really didn't elaborate too much on that. I just kind of assumed that he kind of got control of it. I am both. So it's like he was able to switch in and out of that mode, or is he just able to just to have, I don't know. I have no idea. But I guess that's about all the good things I really want to say. But moving on to the bad, in my opinion, or the mix, however you want to call it. Starting off, I hate the fact that Jean Grey was the motherfucking villain in this movie. Like, the main villain. Hate it. And I was like, okay, but maybe they're doing that like Dark Phoenix, like it's always been in her, like she's always had trace of like, or it tried to come out or try to take over her, and she just kind of overcame it. But didn't like it at all. You made an X-Men a villain, a future X-Men, a villain of a Spider-Man movie. But moving on from that one. The relationship between him and Scorpion, I felt like was lackluster as a mug. I feel like this Tom Holland Spider-Man and Scorpion, this is his arch nemesis. This is almost like his Green Goblin, in a way. He's been the main one pursuing Spider-Man for most of these films. And the fact that he's in like a couple of scenes and they're very short belittles me. And the time that he is getting down with Spider-Man, he's mind controlled. I wasn't liking any of it. I wish they took it back. And then I also hated with a passion for this one that Spider-Man pretty much inadvertently created the power dampeners for the mutants. I'm like, why would you use Spider-Man's subplot to create something that's eventually, Sentinels are going to use against them and try to put on them and stuff? Like, I know they want to introduce the X-Men, but I feel like it was not a lot of stuff of it, but it was the wrong stuff of the X-Men to introduce, in my opinion. It's cool to introduce them, but not what they just did. The runtime for a Spider-Man movie, I feel like this was a little too long. Granted, I do love long films, but for Spider-Man, there's only so much I could take. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I don't know if any other ones were longer, but I felt like this one was long as shit. There was a lot of parts where Jean was in Parker's mind and he was talking to Aunt May, and she was talking to Aunt May, and I couldn't stand any part of it. It was cool for a little bit. It got real long. Some parts of that got real long. I was like, okay, wrap this up, speed it up. So I feel like they could have chopped this down. I did hear rumors that this movie had a lot of different versions. And they're fighting on which one to settle with and whose idea is better and which ones to keep. So I get it. I get it. But I didn't like that part. I guess my main and final gripe is Sony. Stop showing so much in your damn trailers, man. Like, damn near like 80% of the movie, it felt like, was in that trailer. Granted, there's some scenes and some characters that you think are hidden well, aka Jean, that are not. And then you show damn near the main glimpses, the money shots of the Hulk and Spider-Man fight. and you have the Punisher mixed in there too. Like, if you would have saved maybe Hulk's, inclusion, and maybe just promoted with the Punisher and with the mystery Jean Grey or mystery Sadie Sinks, I feel like that would have worked. Save the Hulk. But they wanted that mega epic trailer bullshit, and that shit just didn't work for me at all. At all. But that's pretty much all my gripes. But side note, I do want to say that Ned does remember that that's his best friend. I don't care. A lot of people are already saying that he only remembers because MJ said Peter upstairs and that's how he did it. I feel like it would have been shot completely different, to be honest. After they would have done that little thing, and if Peter would have said, "All right, buddy, see you later," or "It's nice to meet you," or something, and walked away, then he would have said, Peter, Spider-Man. Like, if if he would have, because little kids are watching this, little kids, they're not gonna understand the body language, tones, and they're not gonna understand that crap. So it pretty much, that muscle memory kicked in. People want to say, oh, he's been using that. Ned's probably done that handshake with other people. No, he hasn't. And anyway, you could see Ned's face, like he was frowning as his hand was just doing it naturally, so maybe Ned didn't even know that he even knew that handshake. Maybe he didn't even know he knew it. And then when Peter started doing something, and all that muscle memory and everything, muscle memory kind of triggered everything in him. So 100%, I think Ned remembers. And that's how it ended. That's why it ended like that. A question, though. Where does Peter get all this money to afford all the stuff in his apartment? And rent. And the flowers he buys for Aunt May every day. I'm kind of hoping they showed us that, in the Sam Raimi's, world, he was at the pizza place. I forget with, and then in Amazing Spider-Man, I think he was working at a science. Forgive me, I haven't watched that shit, I don't know how long. But they had jobs. At least it showed us attempt of a job. And for sure, I wanted to see what Spider-Man was doing. You can even say that he was dumpster diving, because that was what he's done. He's dumpster diving. You show he's dumpster diving, got all this stuff, and then re-engineered. Just show him doing one of those. We come in pretty much of him already building shit. He already has an AI voice thing that somehow we gotta assume that he created and not think that is any Stark tech. So it was just kind of a weird mixed bag for me, to be honest. But overall, to be honest, it was a good Spider-Man movie, but it was an okay movie. Like, it had a lot of movie technical flaws to me, like run times and shit like that, and plot errors. One other thing, like, Jean, like, she gets some people killed, in my opinion. There's one dude gets hit by a car that she takes like control over, and Spider-Man does nothing about it. Like, he doesn't go over to check the dude. He continues chasing Sadie Sinks as it was mind hopping to people. And I was like, well, what about the dude that just got hit with the car? So I was like, yeah, you guys painted her real bad. That's why I said, so you guys it was kind of pissing on their own character a little bit. And I don't like it. So it was a good movie, but it was a better Spider-Man film. I am curious about what Hulk's gonna do in Doomsday and Secret Wars, knowing that he went to jail, in this at the end of this and stuff like that. But where's he at when Doom's about to come and knock and incursions are happening right outside the prison walls? So I always kind of wonder what was gonna be with that. But hopefully they'll explain that. They're probably gonna say he's in jail in Doomsday, and that's why he's not in there. But hopefully he for sure be in Secret Wars. Hopefully, far as the next future of Spider-Man, I think this is a good direction. This is a good first step direction for them to go in that direction for us comic book nerds to really enjoy. Next, we just need a black symbiote done correctly, and then maybe a hobgoblin. So, to be honest, they're going the right way. They're going the right way. The post-credit scene was cool in a way, because it reminded me of the Spider-Man game with all the little apps of all the locations of Spider-Man. So it pretty much zoomed out. It pretty much wiped out all the locations Spider-Man was locally, and then it zoomed out and then off the globe, and then it looked over and it being Spider-Man's location in space. So first of all, who got a phone out there that took a picture, said, "Hey, Spidey"? Second of all, what the fuck's he doing out there? But it's a cool little Easter egg. See where that goes. Was the only post-credit scene, so thank God we ain't gotta wait too long for all that credits. But that's pretty much my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. This is the Movie Dungeon. I'm Dwayne, the flyest nerd, Peace.